We are now entering March. I need to have a big chart so we know the month of March, these are activities we will be doing. Huh? And even those activities, we should put blue or green. Green meaning these are the strong ones that must be accomplished. They will not be accomplished in March. They will go on. Huh? Maybe blue are things we will finish in a month. Huh? So a calendar for me is very critical because it has something called training. Huh? And every time you can see now I'm just trying to force like 30 minutes of, can we just talk about something different, not consortium, TFF. You must step back at least once in a month and say, we have a topic we want to address, and get in someone to speak to us, to give us fresh perspective. Or shut down the office, just get in a car, go and have breakfast at Serena and talk from there. You understand? Eh? Because many of you are young, all of you are young, really. If you don't have different experiences and don't begin to see the world in its bright colors, you won't grow. So I want the calendar because it should have training time so that we embed it. The second one is HR, XCOM, outcomes. That's a structural issue. When do we complete that? Where are we with the report? We met XCOM. XCOM approved the HR plan. I need that completed. That for me is the big brick. Huh? Do we all know that story of if you want to fill this bottle, you can't start with water. You put the big stones, you put the pebbles, then you put sand, then, right? So I'm now talking about the big bricks which cannot get in if you start with water. So that's number 2, and I just have 3. The final one for me on the 3, so first one, annual calendar. Second one, HR. Third one is onboarding TFF companies. Eh? Why is this important? Because it activates consortiums. So when you onboard the first 5 companies, they now have to buy coffee. So he has a reason to be talking about coffee in Usoga or Unyoro, wherever it is. They now have to buy vegetables. So it ceases to be a pillar which we talk about. It's something we can walk. Huh? So that is a big brick. Huh? Plus, we know money is fuel in the engine. When people begin to see companies getting orders, this is the real PACEID. This is the whole reason we exist. Because it means that now you can track the order, now you can digitize the order, now you can, all these other things fall into place. Huh? Now, once you have had those 3 fundamentals, from my perspective, you should have your own perspective on the fundamentals. Then now I can talk about operations. Where is the law? Where is that law? That law should actually be a principal brick. Huh? The law on food safety, the Food and Agriculture Authority. Maybe I should raise it and make it a fundamental brick because that's what makes our conformity standards work. Huh? Let's make that number 4 because you'll not fix it in a day. Okay, so the law, the food safety law, plant health, animal law, this is critical for us to say, when Alan gives, as an example, gives someone money for order, where is the certificate that has to be digitized? Eh? Because without that stamp of approval, we said it should come from Food and Agriculture Authority. The Food and Agriculture should own labs for which the government is borrowing. It's a very important element. Eh? So I need that put as a brick. Then we can now go directives, because directives keep shifting. This is operations. Then we can go markets. Where are we today in Congo? Where are we today in UAE? Then we can go digitization. So for me, there are things you should take as operations which are every day, just the way you wake up and wash, and if you don't brush your teeth every day, you'll have problems in a week. Huh? But there are things that are so fundamental like marriage. If you don't marry, okay, maybe you'll produce children, but they'll come from all over the place with different mindsets. maybe you'll you'll affect negatively the next generation. So settling down is almost like those 4 fundamentals I mentioned. Operations is whether now I eat katogo or I eat chapati, but I am still eating. It's a human being who is working. Huh? Are we together? So the reason I wanted to speak to you this morning, I want to talk about empathy. 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 Now in Africa, we think we have empathy because we come from poor families. But I have watched some of you and I feel that we don't. So let me just step back. We started in December something called Box 1. What does Box 1 do? Who was in our retreat? Do you see the danger? I keep telling you, you are going to get lost in meeting at 11. Huh? Go to Hoima, talk. Huh? No. We said Box 1 is managing the present. Huh? The present does not change. The present is salary, rent, income, airtime, fuel, car, job, career, school fees. That's managing the present. It never ends. Some people managed the present 1,000 years ago and they died, and we don't know them. So we said managing the present don't abandon it, but think of box number 2, which is manage the past. Because the present very quickly becomes the past. So I am sure Bagonza was running head front. We must do Hoima. You must come and spend the night. But Hoima and graduation is when now? It's gone. It's in the past. You should be dealing with post-Hoima, the lessons. How do we apply them for tomorrow? How do we apply them for today? Managing the past, we said, is a very deliberate activity that says whatever was successful yesterday, it is not going to help me today. However, where I looked nice, that's why fashion. Doesn't fashion change? Now, me, I grew up in the time of bell bottom. I found the people I first saw had trousers this big, right? And a shoe called platform, 1976. But they will come back. So fashion is cyclical because they keep altering, but it means they're just trying to move away from the past without necessarily abandoning the success they got in the past. So managing the past, you have to be very intentional on stopping the thing that might even be working, because it can lead you in a wrong direction. The more you do it, you think you're heading north, but you're heading west. It requires mental disruption. That's why I want to talk about empathy today. So we said box number 3 is what? Who remembers box number 3? Managing the future. Okay, I'm running quick, so I don't want to take a lot of time. Managing the future requires that you look at the possibilities versus the gaps you have today. So if I remember I used an example of scratch cards. All of us used scratch cards. You scratch the card, you put airtime. Do we do it anymore? But don't we buy airtime? We call it even credit. Now we buy data. So suppose the telecom companies kept doing the same thing of scratch cards, where would they be today? Because it was a successful model. Suppose banks keep putting up buildings in the middle of nowhere and hiring staff. A bank branch costs no less than 400 million shillings to set up and to manage. Banks are now doing those umbrellas which you see. They are doing what? Agency banking. It's still banking of another kind, but it's banking that is different from yesterday. So we said box number 1 is managing the present. The present has performance gaps. You need the present in order for you to go to the future. We said box number 2 is deliberately abandoning the past. Right? So among you, there are some politicians like this Kagonyera. He thinks how he campaigned in 2021. That's how he will campaign in 2026. In 2026, my children, the first two will be voters. Huh? In fact, next year they'll be voters. But they don't know which candidate, they don't know which people, they are not interested. You come because I know how to campaign. Huh? I campaigned in 2015. I campaigned in 2011. Sorry. The people have changed. The systems have changed. Constituencies have changed. The needs have changed. Young people have changed. Technology has changed. You come with your old model, you die. That's why box number 2 is important. Abandon what worked in order for you to catch the future. Are we together? So now I asked you when I was concluding that session, I said, what is your box number 3 idea for 2024? Strangely, no one has come to say, today I want to present my box number 3 idea. Today I want to present to the rest of the people as markets or as consortiums or as standards, something I say, I know how to do it, but I have learned that it's not going to work this way. This is the way I want to spend 20% of my time in box number 3 while I live in box number 1. Please remember, salary has to be earned today. It has to be saved for tomorrow. So do you consume all the salary you get? It's okay. It's okay to say I do. The needs are much more than my salary. But you have to be very deliberate, chopping off 10% and keeping it away because needs are unlimited, right? Why do you chop off that 10 or 20%? Box number 3. Because you must have something to work with. Huh? Now, that which you chopped off, if you chop it for 6 months, something can happen and you need all that 6 months to spend it. What would have happened if you didn't have it? Huh? That's box number 3. It applies to our lives. It applies to our businesses. It applies to countries. Huh? So I need to move on. Now, really, I'm getting diverted. So I read a report last year from McKinsey. It said because of COVID-19, McKinsey, which is a global consulting firm, estimated that $2.9 trillion up to $4.9 trillion worth of trade is going to be diverted to the south. And Africa will be among the top trading regional hubs, manufacturing hubs. Why? Because COVID-19 increased the cost of logistics. Huh? We are now in 2024. Africa is importing as it were before COVID. Why? Because Africa had not planned for this. Africa had not disrupted itself to create regional value chains and trading, so the Chinese are still selling to us. We have actually gone back to normal. Why? Because we are not living in box number 3. So box number 3 is critical for us to know that we are not growing younger. You may be 21, but the time is coming when you'll be 50, 60, 70. You are not becoming 18, 17, right? So, where is your box number 3 idea? This for me is among the bricks in the bottle. Where is the unit box number 3 idea? I want next month, that maybe Monday after your meeting, let's have one person present to us every week. Box number 3 idea. Are we together? So today I want to speak to you about empathy. What's empathy? Empathy comes from emotions. What's emotions? Do we know emotions? What's emotions? Feelings, right? So they tell you, take away your emotions. Eh? We want to work with facts. I think we say that every day. The facts speak for themselves. No. Thinking and facts is like if you woke up and you didn't put on anything and you came running here and we find you working. Just imagine 5, 6 of you just naked coming to work. What do you think we would speak about you? And some of you have very interesting sizes, so I don't know how you... It would be very, very weird. So let's assume thinking and facts are you not dressed. Feelings is the clothing for thinking. Huh? How you dress, how you prepare is your emotions. Huh? Because emotions can tell you, I look at this person, I have a sense of love. I'm attracted to them. Love has many levels, as you understand. Eh? Maybe I should use the word like. But when I say love, I hope you understand. There's filial love, there's agape love, many forms of love. Eh? Or you can see someone and say, I feel a sense of contempt. Eh? I don't like them. But the person has not spoken. Have you ever felt that? I don't like this guy. The way he looks, the way he talks, he's a bad guy. What is that is switching things? It's your emotions. Eh? Okay? Emotions are also very important because they show you, am I moving to my goals or am I moving far away from the goals? So these things are connected, box 1 and box 3. For you to be able to deal with box 1 and box 2 and box 3, you need to understand your thinking and your feelings. Huh? You have to be empathetic because nobody runs box 1 alone. Are you working alone in box 1 today? You have to work together in order to produce box number 3. How can I work with Brenda if I have no empathy about what she might be going through or how she interprets her being here? Because I have seen people who come here day 1 and they just don't know who to talk to, or if they are talking to people and people are thinking I'm busy, I'm doing my own things, and I realize that if we apply that method to the customers outside, who are our customers? The institutions we deal with, the citizens of Uganda. I find that some of you are scared of picking a phone and say, I'm calling you on behalf of this, I'm doing that. It's because we do not have a sense of empathy and therefore we've not managed our feelings and we don't understand our emotions. Eh? We may have all the facts. You can even read a script when you're calling, but that's not enough. You have to learn to deal with people who you don't like or who don't like you. That's a sense of growth. Eh? Okay, so very quickly, why is empathy or thinking and feeling difficult? So I was checking over the weekend, and that's why I thought, let me share these things with you. Because some things, we are born with them, and unless someone helps us see them, so there are 4 mental architectures. Do we know the meaning of the word architecture? The building. Huh? The building has a plan, how it's set up. Huh? So there are 4, let me call them defensive architectures that we are born into, that sometimes if we don't disrupt ourselves, box number 3. Remember? Box number 3 requires that you disrupt your thinking. Huh? So these 4 mental architectures, I was studying them over the weekend and I thought, I have seen some of them with people and they may not know them. So sharing them with you might even help you understand who you are. So number 1, avoidance. Avoidance. If I write, I'll take a lot of time. Avoidance. So avoidance is based on fear of being hurt. Eh? Relationships suck. I tried to be friends with King George. He rejected me, or she so-and-so rejected me. And therefore I want to reduce my relationships, reduce my emotions. I want to be self-sufficient. I don't need help. I am not going to rely on anyone. I will not ask Brenda for help, even if I could, but I won't. Right? What if she says no? Instead, people should rely on me. Sometimes I'll be positively, relentlessly positive to hide my vulnerability. I just show that, I'm the most active, but I'm hiding something. Huh? Because I'm avoiding contact with being hurt. And now hurt can be many things. It can be in a relationship. It can be at your workplace. It can be with your siblings, and you are carrying it here, and we don't know. It can be with your mother and father. and you are carrying it in the office. I think I have noticed some avoiders. So when I say these things, check yourself, okay? So why do I avoid? I don't want to be hurt again, and therefore this is not my area. This is for category former LC5 chairman of Kamuli. They are the ones who know how to lie. They are politicians. Me, I can't lie. I avoid. Am I speaking about someone you know? You are all just quietly. So that's number one. Number two is called deprivation. Deprivation. Don't want to write. Take a lot of time. So deprivation is I was raised by self-centered caregivers or parents. They knew how to drive nice cars. They knew how to dress very well. But I didn't matter. So these are things that are lodged in year 7, year 5, year 9, year 10, and they show up when you are 25, 30, and you don't know it. So the caregivers showed that my needs don't matter. Therefore, when I grow up, I'm on my own. I fix my own things. So I have met a number of corrupt government officials who I go back and study and say, okay. By the way, if I check your home, your parents' home, how you grew up, I can read about 30% of who you are today. So I'm not talking about you. So let me tell you my example. I grew up in a home, many of you have heard me speak about this. Very modest means. Parents who are, the word poor for them did not factor. They were poor, but they rejected the sign of poverty because they worked hard with their hands. They lived light. They lived as if Jesus will come tonight. So they don't want to hurt anyone. Maybe there was a bit of avoidance, or they will do the things that really matter to them. Now, when I was maturing, I met an organization called The Movement. And the movement said, everyone matters. Your religion, we don't care. Your tribe, we don't care. So you may find that small, but when you are young going to university, and there is an organization that says, we don't care whether you are UPC or DP as long as individual merit matters. If you're smart, you're good with people, we don't care about your party. Now, when I went to university, year 1, I met a friend called Adonia Tverondwa, who had been a UPC minister. At that time, to go and meet Tverondwa in his home, and you are a kid like me, and he's UPC, and you have all these, and Adonia helped me understand reconciliation. He said, we are all the same. That President Museveni, we know him. You don't know him. You're a kid. So that shaped my growing up, my politics, and then when I started reading, I read biographies. I encourage you to read biographies. Biographies transport you into the lives of people you will never see, but you know everything about them. They teach you how people faced situations and dealt with them. They make you empathetic. So, now, was I a deprived child? No. But my background was that my parents taught me hard work, and therefore sometimes, if I ask some of you, 11 o'clock I can call you, midnight I can call you. What am I doing working at midnight? So it has a downside. You must stop work at some stage. Life is not about work, it's more. But to not work is to be lazy. To be lazy is, I didn't find that in our home. Not at all, not at all. So, self-centered parents who showed that the needs of the child don't really matter. A child now is on their own when they grow. And guess what? I found out they have unworthy feelings. I seem to see flaws in my life because care was limited. There is a deeper critic in you who won't let you be. How come I don't fit in? Well, because your needs did not matter to the first people that your eyes and your mind and heart met. So they grow up, I grow up, and I get married. and the wife leaves me and they say, no, it's my fault. I'm a bad husband. Or the husband cheats and they say, it's my fault. I am not a good wife. Because something happened, you have feelings of unworthiness. I have seen old people respond to those feelings because someone has not talked to them about this. That's number what? Running out of time. Number what? So am I speaking to someone here? You understand? So how do you go to box number 3 if you don't address those things? Now, 8 hours you are here. If you don't have empathy to each other and share deeply, how are you going to raise $6 billion? If you can't ask Sonia, what's wrong with you? What are you going through? Remember, for you to ask Sonia, there must be a particular level of comfort. But how do you build comfort? Empathy. Empathy builds trust. Trust brings creativity. Creativity creates teamwork. Huh? So I'm not sharing with you stuff just that is off air. It's very important, especially you young people in the days of social media. Everyone wants to look good on social media, but inside is a rattle. They're going through terrible things. But they never, so they take pictures of food, share. They take pictures of, see me here. But if you ask, they are hollow. That's why they're insulting. That's why I reach out to those who insult me, because in front of you, they are like a cat. Because they don't know you. You don't know how they were raised. Your work as a leader is to ensure that those who criticize you don't walk the opposite way, walk to them. You're not walking with them to support you or to like you. No. To heal them, because by healing them, their flaws, you heal yourself. You demonstrate to others that there's nothing we cannot confront. How can you talk about 6 billion if you cannot talk about what's the issue with Alan? What's the issue with Kagonyere? 6 billion? TFF? No, you are lying. Box number 3, you are lying. First deal with those things. So let's go to number 3. It is called overreactivity. Overreactivity. So Victor, I wanted you to record these things because these teachings, I won't have time. These Brendas are not giving, Bagons, they're not giving me time to do this. That I have, Thomas here I have. So whenever we record them, let's run them. Let's find a screen and run them and go through them again. What is overreactivity? So a child is threatened when they are young. Huh? You? Now, me who grew up really in a peasant family, my father, I can count when he ever beat me. Maybe once, but it must have been something horrible I did. So he used few words. One day, I used a bad word on a cow, and he overheard it, and he called me. And he said, a cow? You insulted a cow? Now, to many of you, you don't even think it makes sense. Yeah? He said, that cow you insult gives you milk. That cow you insult pays your school fees. Yeah? That cow you insult is a creature created by God. Yeah? Son, never insult an animal God created. So if you can't insult an animal, can you insult a human being? He's just telling you some values, and that stuck with me. So, but my mother, she beat me once in a while. Beat you? Why are you delayed getting water from the well? Not always, but as mothers, they are closed in. Eh? Those of us who are parents know. Fathers are a bit off, mothers are closed in. They see the teeth, the nails which are not cut, if they are serious mothers. Okay? So he would beat you and sometimes say some things that eventually, in her, she would regret, but as a parent, she would not tell you. There are children who are abused when they are young, they are threatened, and they think the world is dangerous when they become mature. They have a very high emotional threat detection system. See? Friend or enemy. They approach everything from a point of fight or fright. Okay? Whenever you talk to them and there is a sense of ambivalence, this issue is not resolved. They see that as menacing. You know the word menacing? He wants to punch me, or he doesn't like me. Now, they see neutral faces, but for them they see hate. No, it's a neutral face. Man does not like. They see anger where there is no anger. They lash out, and they don't understand why. I don't know if you've met people like that. Huh? They are angry all the time, lashing out. Huh? Why are you lashing out? Well, overreactivity, which comes from that background. Huh? Number 4, the final one of those templates that I think you should carry and start asking, where do I belong? Okay? Number 4 is called passive aggression. Passive aggression is a very indirect expression of anger. It's actually repressed anger. You are angry against your parents, what they did not fix. You're angry against friends for really not hanging out with you. Or, you know, among friends, there's one who wants to control, right? Why is he controlling me? She. Okay? You're angry about your siblings. You sidestep direct communication. You avoid confrontation. You avoid conflict. You have trouble dealing with negative emotions. And you know what? You turn this aggression, passive aggression, into a subtle power play. You manipulate others so that they feel guilty and they like you. I manipulate you so that there's a sense of affection. All these emotions are happening, but you don't know them. So let me just give you an example. So think of a young lady, boyfriend. The lady says, I want to go this weekend and be with my friends. Right? Yeah, of course. Nalog, I know your friends. You know, just go hang out. So when it comes to Friday, he starts to have, you're going? Who are you going with? But we agreed that I'm going to hang out with my friends. Okay, so he begins to withdraw. Now what have I done? I asked. I'm just using boyfriend and girlfriend. This could be husband and wife. This could be office politics. We agreed that I am the one who is going to be in Hoima. Now what has happened? Why is Nkahewa the one there? But they don't tell you. So now, eventually, this boyfriend doesn't want the girl to go, or if she goes, he wants to make her feel guilty and selfish for leaving him and going over the weekend when they should be together. But he does not speak about it. It is passive aggression. Huh? Both men and women do that. Huh? So what helped us in our home, in my parents' home? So my mother was born out of wedlock. Huh? To be born out of wedlock in the 30s, and then you get born again at the age of 8. But your mother has said, no, this is not your father. So you can imagine a young lady going through all these emotions, and then she meets this husband whose dedication was, I will serve God, I'll build a bulwark around my family, I don't care what the world thinks of me. So my wife, let's go dig together. My father used to climb a tree to read a Bible that he wants to be close and hear the Holy Spirit. So they built a framework that gave the 7 children emotional safety, comfort, even in poverty. But, you know, that's my father, that's my mother, right? So when you grow older like me now, you have a sense of respect for people who didn't go to school, but they were attached to something higher than them, which is God, my family. And they used those two to serve their country by bringing up children. Not everyone is different. I'm different from my siblings. If you meet my sisters, they're different. But there is a sense of there's a boundary, man. You don't speak like that. You don't answer someone like that. Huh? You don't get entangled in something like that. You don't, you found one child, one husband, one wife. You can't marry a second wife, never. You can't. There are things which are ingrained in me that I see them in my head, and I'm hoping perhaps they are good and our own children can take them on. Huh? So, I'm just using my own example so that you don't think I'm talking about you. So how do we, I want to close now. So do we understand those 4 architectures? So let me tell you, people can be 80 and they are dealing with issues of 7-year-olds. Go check the interviews of people who have succeeded in their 70s and 80s. They end with, I hope my father looks at me and he feels proud of me. Man, you are 80 years old. The father, it means that something there. He's trying to impress if he's a man. Or if a woman had trouble with their mother and they don't like their mother, it's called matrophobia. We can speak of change, but we don't like change. We like comfort. We can think of disruption, but we like consistency. We can think of exercise, but we like to sleep more. We can think of eating healthy, but that chicken, man, is fantastic. Huh? We are the opposite of what we want. Huh? So it takes effort and teamwork. And young people gathering to work at PACEID who came to just get a salary and work, to find a wellspring of wisdom, because you can pay to get knowledge, but you will never pay to get wisdom. A man or woman can give you knowledge, but they'll never give you what? Wisdom. That's why I want these small disruptions. Let's talk. Let's deal with these other issues, because the bigger issues, we will not defeat them. We will not handle them. They will defeat us if we don't deal with the smaller ones. Huh? So, how do you, therefore, deal with the question of, so we said empathy is thinking, is emotion, thinking, feeling, go together. So how do I understand what Magambo is going through? 3 things. First is called mirroring, like a mirror. Mirroring. Huh? You should seek to see Magambo and reenact the emotions of Magambo, attune to Magambo's breathing pattern, the sitting posture, his gestures, in order to understand what ails Magambo. Because you don't inhabit his world. Yet you want him to help you with digitization.
So now can we say probably stomach?
So when we're in Hoima, I in a spontaneous manner, something came to my mind. I saw Rowena Tuesige standing at the corner of my eye, and something said, call her. Just call her and come, and she speaks to this Banyoro, because she can't speak Runyoro, she can't speak Runyachitara, and she speaks the British English. So I said, you come and speak. What I was trying to do to her is to say, I see that you want to be wherever we are. I see that you want to be a member of the team. And maybe we are not picking you very well. We have not had deeper empathy with you. We are worried about some other things. How does someone sit Saturday? But this person, Saturday might be secondary if they fit in a train or in a bus that is moving, that wants to generate change. So, I mean, I cannot judge what she said, but she spoke in her English, and I could see the Banyoro, tumwetegerize, okay. But for me, it was less about them, more about her, to try and pull her from behind and say, come and, because Bagonza could speak good Lunyoro, he can, so I was looking for someone different. So that's called mirroring. Try and inhabit the space of this person in order for you to be able to help them. They may never have qualified at university. They may have even falsified their documentation, but they are with you here. Your work is to help them and pick the skill they have and mature them. I'm using the harsher parts of our lives. Eh? So people who are good at mirror, ngenda birwamu, they tend to have what we call a high emotional granularity. You know granular? Granular is like the seeds of sugar. Eh? A high level of emotional granularity means that you can distinguish different emotional states of people. You don't see people as sad, happy, angry. No, you go under. You understand what generates anxiety. And then you can bring someone out to say, but this is what bothers me. If I could do this, I could perform better. I am hoping we'll get an HR person who understands these things, because getting us to work at our best is going to require digging, plumbing, you know, like how you dig deep, each one of us, and bring out the bad stuff until you get to the right water, and then we can know who we are. Okay? So the opposite of low, so if you have high emotional granularity, it means you are like a painter who has a palette of many colors. It's like a painter with many, you have high, you can read the shades of people quickly. This is good for you if you are married and you didn't do these things when you are married. Now use them. Take a much bigger palette, because you don't know her moods or his moods. You don't know where they come from, right? Now, the opposite is low emotional granularity. You have few concepts in your head: sad, mad, scared. Eh? That's where you stop. Your emotional reading palette is low. So I invite you to mirror other people's behavior so you have a richer palette of emotions to understand why people behave the way they behave. Number two is called mentalizing. Mentalizing. So only human beings can recall experiences. Animals don't. You understand that? So if you see Magambo crying, just as an example, you as a human being, you want to know what has happened at his workplace or at his home. And if you discover what it is, you say, I think I understand. I have gone through it. I have this experience. You pull it from your brain. I think I know. I think I understand. I have gone through this. I can appreciate. Take heart. We can find a solution. You are using your experience, it's called mentalizing, to be able to understand why Magambo. I use Magambo just as could be Kagonyera. Why is he lashing out? You want to understand the story behind the story and walk in their shoes. Are we together? Number 3 is called caring. So if mentalizing is projecting your experience on why Magambo is crying, caring is to know that that experience of yours may not be the one he wants in this situation. See how hard it is? Now you come say, go slow. What solved your problem may not be what can solve his problem. For me, this is the hardest. It's almost like a child sees their mother cry, and the only thing they can do is get tissue and give it to them. Right? What have they done? It's empathy, but it is shallow. So caring means step out of your experience, however similar it is, and let Magambo be who he is, because you are different. Our experiences in life shape us differently. The ability to step out of your experience and not use it as a template to judge everything is called maturity. Are we together? Okay. So how do you increase empathy? And I sit. How do you increase empathy? How do you increase empathy? Number one is what I just did. I found you seated in a classroom style, right? What have I done? Huh? So when you sit in a circle, you are basically saying, we are a team. There is no power, authority stronger. Objective is stronger than a seat. Are we together? But also the way you sit, you could have sat next to your enemy. The one you rarely, very rarely want to work with. Huh? But now the circle, we can all see each other. We can look, we can say, okay, now you don't have enemies here. But I just want you to imagine, if they brought the people you hate most, and they are working with you and you have to sit and live with them every day. Or people who have told lies about you. So I've been trying to get Mirundi as an example. So Mirundi kept saying Rwabugo exports body organs. But I knew it was not Mirundi, there were people paying him to do it. Huh? So I also know the people, so I reached out to the people, they refused to speak to me because they know they are guilty. So I just kept working. Now, this now expands, becomes another animal, and they're trying to dress you in a particular skin. Those of you who are in Hoima must have seen the song they were singing with the Tara. Huh? Do you know what you do there? You jump in and say, yes, I am a Tara, man. I'm a Tara, and I'm the one who has happened now. Because human nature is about me, myself, and I. You must learn to dethrone your anger, dethrone yourself if God has to use you for something stronger. And the only way to do it is to decenter yourself. Huh? You are not the center of the universe. However smart ideas you have, there are people who are smarter than you. You are not the richest, there are people who. You are not the wisest, there are people who are ever. And they are long gone and nobody remembers them. Okay? So, recently I did some motioning and I thought that we should pick it. But I did it with a few. So there's a kid who said, we are the ones behind Tugume's money and the smoking gun stops at Ruabug. But that kid, you must have seen him here. And we want to support that kid to do content. Huh? Not that we're trying to buy him, but that, and we're not even trying to shame him. We're trying to mature him to know that not all that glitters is gold, and you should be careful if you want to live in a country. What are we trying to do? It's called contact theory. Sit together, share whatever it is. But you know how you do that? Your mind should be open. You're not trying to cheat anyone. You're not trying to falsify. And therefore, it is hard to hate people up close. If you are up close with your enemies, you talk. You understand. So when the president sent Dr. Gunda to talk to Joseph Kony, for me it was a very small but very important signal. He wanted to talk to Kony himself, bring him. I want to understand Joseph Kony. Why do you cut off people's lips? We can talk. The other side, the president's side, how can you talk to evil? Evil. You see, when you characterize someone as evil, then there's no space for a conversation. Eh? In fact, I have seen people attack opinions and go beyond opinion and attack individuals, and they say that's, so you know LGBTQ? What if someone is born that way? Should you not be careful that you need to know people's experiences and not stand high ground and grandstanding? And that's not to say that you accept bad behavior, but that it is very difficult to hate people up close because you get to know them. Huh? Number two is something I like to do. It is called noticing much more where people see less. And I invite you to do it with your eyes closed. So you see Alan, you close your eyes to see if you remember the shirt, the face, the posture of Alan. That's the way you memorize dates, times, hours. Even in criminology, that's very important. When you make a statement, you have taken a mental picture and registered it. Now, how are you going to empathize with someone if you are not interested in the details, the smells, the sounds, the posture, the walk style? You must have seen sometimes I mentioned dates and hours, and I learned from some people that for you to engage with people, you have to see much more where people see less. The third one is I invite you to read biographies. Biographies are a very good thing, I mentioned it, to help you live the lives of other people. So this is my closure. I want you to know these. So emotions are between these two things: energy and pleasantness. Happy people don't fall sick easily, right? Now, but if we have low energy and we're still happy, we can be calm. I am calm. I am facing whatever happens as it is. But if we are low in being nice, but high in energy, we lash out. Remember? What did we call that? People who lash out. Overreactivity, right? We lash out. We are frustrated very easily. Why can't Bagonza get this done? Chirudeo. Fear. I don't know if you like this box, but we live in this box too. Don't think we don't live in it, right? The energy is low, the pleasantness is low, so you're sad, you're anxious, apathy, stress. Now, this box is dangerous. It is dangerous because people now are putting up structures on social media that makes them look nice, but they are living here. They will never tell you what they are going through. Now, if you're spending 8 hours here, please be careful that we are united as a team, and our mood meter should tend to push us where? So if we find Magambo here, let's pull him up where? Yeah. So I'm not telling you to have a club where it's like a pity party. You come and cry. And no, I'm telling you, for us to leave box number 1 and fix box number 3, we cannot avoid dealing with who we are at individual level. So I want to stop here. Next Monday, if I have time, I want to extend this conversation so you can see, so I can give you more tools on how to strengthen empathy. And I also can give you what I really believe in the end are the 4 types of personality traits we are based on what we have shared today. Any question? Yes.
Lack what you would call the happy people that you have just talked about in the mood meter. And I know that, or maybe what would you call a situation where people who grew up in deprivation want the others to also feel like that. And then, under the mental architectures also, where do we place the happy people? Those who get it right, those who share happiness, those who spread what we would call the good vibes.
So I just want, the 4 defensive architecture I shared with you, I want you to know that they are not locked as A, B, C in. So you can't say, Alan, is specifically that architecture. Alan is a confluence of many, but we take out the elemental strength that features in those four and say, the way he behaves or the way I behave, I think this is what is affecting me. This is my background. Now, I also want you to know that people change. As you grow through life and experience things, these architectures evolve. So the reason I was giving you this is for you to learn to upgrade your mental architecture. There's an interesting example in 1914, before the First World War. So from 1815 to 1914, Europe had 100 years of small wars but peace. 100 years of peace. Now I'm going to go off the tangent. Some of you don't like history. So there was a conference, a Congress of Vienna in 1815 that was signed to end wars. But the First World War broke out 100 years later. In between these, people fought on cavalry, on horses and guns. The more numbers you had, your chances of winning the war were higher. And therefore the generals who had been raised in that culture did not know that technology called U-boats. There were U-boats made by Germans. They would torpedo ships. There were also the emergency of ballistics, bombs. There was emergency of artillery. In other words, you can fire a shell 30 kilometers behind the enemy lines. But the generals who had really built the armies of Europe only knew how to fight on a horse, only knew how to deploy numbers. So they would be sending thousands of people into harm's way because their mental architecture had not been upgraded. That's why there was a lot of loss of lives in the First World War in winter, if you read that war. The moral of this story is that the world changes, circumstances change. We must not be held down by what happened to us when we were younger. But how can I fix a thing I don't know? That's why we went through the four. Dig deeper. Some of the actions you take may not be actions generated by you, but they are things registered when you were younger. Now I can tell you as a father, who has been in the delivery room and have also seen the baby and the suckling of the baby, the initial caregivers of a baby. Babies are so smart. They know the voice from the stomach. That's my father. So if you're an absent father, he or she will not know. I think now I'm going in a different direction. Now, and look how busy I am. You think I am a good father? No, I am up and down. I'm teaching, I'm reading in the night. But the point is, the eyes of those babies, if they see the mother scared, the child will cry. A 2-month child will cry if the eyes of the mother are not okay. A 2-month-old baby will know that this caregiver does not like me. They will scream. Human beings are interesting. We read these things early. So you can imagine at 2 months, it's a blank piece of brain. There's a pencil writing, right? And so what about when they turn 7, 8 and you beat them up? Or you don't show care? Or the two parents are fighting, right? Those things are registered. Now, it doesn't mean that the child will become what they saw, but you have deformed them at a young age. So we have children of drunk parents who don't take alcohol. So you have President Obama, single mom, absent father, who was a drunkard, lives for Kenya, but this young man becomes president of America. So but you have to look into what happened with his grandfather, the mother's father. The family of the mother must have picked this boy and did not show aggression or racism at home. And by the time this kid comes out, he's fully confident in himself. So, if these things happen when we are young, why should we ignore them when we are old and we're trying to deal with $6 billion? That's why I thought, let me share this with you. So, evolution, changes happen, but we need to know. I think the final answer to you, Matthew, is the one who is deprived, who is trying to bring everyone down. I think that's what you're saying. Should we all congregate on this person and they just bring us down? No, first identify the source of trouble for this person. Give them the right approach and the right counseling. Demonstrate that you understand what they are going through. Bring them into some form of training if they will cure. If they can't, you have a job to do. Remember? You are not going to solve the problems of the world, but you should show empathy before you throw people out. Because sometimes a small light can change us completely. And I don't know if you've seen someone who drinks till 2 a.m., but suddenly they stopped drinking. They stopped doing anything wrong. They are clean. They are on time. Right? What has happened to them? That's what partly I want to share with you next time. Maybe suffering changed them. They watched something at home and it shook them into reality. Or Brenda talked to the person nicely and said, I think I know what you're going through. And this might be the end. But what if? What if? You know that word, what if? Holding other factors constant. What if we did this? And the person said, but she cares. She's not my boss. She's not Miss Brenda. Yeah? She's not Bagonza. She's not Alan. No. So, I am not saying we should solve all the problems of the world. We have priorities, but we don't have any human race that other than this. We have to figure out a way how to work together to achieve the objective. Huh?
Okay, last then. One is that I think, like you said, we're going to plan for a session out of here where you come and give us more of this and not markets and exports and but now this has helped us to understand ourselves better, but also understand people better. It's more like a guide and measure. But you now have a person who does not fall under these. He was not deprived. He doesn't fall under avoidance. He doesn't overreact. And he doesn't have the passive aggression. He's a good man. Where does Jonathan fall?
That is your answer. Now, I'm not a palm reader, so now Mia gave me a full template. Think through what to do. So, for me, next Monday, if we have time, let's have another 45 minutes to an hour.
Good.
Do your meeting, but I need us to deal with those fundamentals, those things I called bricks, before we head into operations.
Okay.
But please create time for us to develop skills that we did not get in schools. But these skills affect the way we work. Any other question? If not, I think we should close our session. Yes, Thomas.
Thank you.
That's the welcome, welcome. Were you done with the meeting?
Yes, we're done.
So let's pray and close. So Father, we come before you this morning to thank you for giving us this opportunity to share these things, because we know when we know something, we are 5%. When we practice something, when we demonstrate something, we're at 20%. When we practice something, we're at 60%. When we share something, we're at 90%. We achieved those 4 layers up to sharing, and people can now go and share these things and begin to ask questions that are deeper, questions of life, questions of country. Because we can't be patriotic or good wives or husbands or good workers unless we know who we are. So I ask that these young people who you've put on this train, that you turn them into a force for good, a team that will change our country and achieve this target, that will learn how to navigate life and work with people of different persuasions, but remain steadfast on their calling and reveal their calling to them. And keep us as a team that speaks honestly and transparently to solve the problems of our country. We give you the rest of this week, the meetings we have today. We give you those who are not here. We ask for a sense of discipline, a sense of conformity to our own rules, even before we can conform to the rules outside. That we're a team that is unassailable because you are with us. We have said this prayer in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.